Namaskar, good evening. You're watching the Newshour Agenda and I'm Swati Joshi. The controversy over Prime Minister participating in Ganesh Puja at CJI's residence is back in the spotlight, as the Prime Minister has hit back sharply at the opposition's criticism, comparing the Congress and its ecosystem with the British and saying Congress is now angered by Ganesh Utsav. Taking aim at Congress and its ecosystem, Prime Minister Modi said those who are hungry for power are trying to divide the society and now have problems with Ganesh Puja. The Prime Minister also referred to a recent incident in Karnataka where a Ganesh idol was momentarily seized by Bengaluru police amid a protest against stone pelting during Ganesh Yatra. He said that Congress committed the sin of putting Lord Ganesha's idol behind bars and added that these hateful elements should be stopped.
भाई और बहनों, बांटो और राज करो की नीति पर चलने वाले अंग्रेजों की नजरों में उस समय भी गणेश उत्सव खटकता था। आज भी समाज को बांटने और तोड़ने में लगे सत्ता के भूखे लोगों को गणेश पूजा से परेशानी हो रही है। आपने देखा होगा, कांग्रेस और उसके इकोसिस्टम के लोग पिछले कुछ दिनों से इसलिए भड़के हुए हैं क्योंकि मैंने गणपति पूजन में हिस्सा लिया था।
Prime Minister's attack comes in response to opposition leaders taking umbrage to him attending Ganesh Puja at CJI D.Y. Chandrachud's residence. Congress, Uddhav Sena, Sharad Pawar's NCP and other parties in the INDI bloc objected to it and claimed that this raises questions in the minds of people about the independence of judiciary and the integrity of the CJI. Congress has now doubled down on opposition's attack, with Congress General Secretary K.C. Venugopal linking Prime Minister's Ganesh Puja to polls in Maharashtra. Taking to social media platform X, the Congress leader wrote that just when Maharashtra polls are around the corner, Prime Minister goes with an elaborate camera crew in full Maharashtrian attire for Ganesh Puja. He further said that misuse of religion for politics is not hidden from anyone. The BJP has hit back at the opposition parties, alleging that their criticism has to do with them being anti-Hindu to appease their vote bank.
वोट बैंक के लिए कांग्रेस पार्टी किस प्रकार का हिंदू विरोधी चेहरा अपना सकती है, इसका एक और परिचायक तब मिला जब उसके पूरे इकोसिस्टम ने प्रधानमंत्री मोदी के चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया जाकर गणेश पूजा करने का विरोध किया। विरोध प्रधानमंत्री मोदी के चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया से मिलने का नहीं था, क्योंकि इससे पहले भी वो कई बार मिले हैं। जब प्रधानमंत्री मनमोहन सिंह अपने घर पे इफ्तार पार्टी रखते थे और उसमें चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया आते थे, तब वो सेकुलर माना जाता था। पर आज जब प्रधानमंत्री मोदी चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया के घर पे गणेश पूजा के लिए गए, तो गणेश पूजा का विरोध किया गया और उद्धव सेना से लेकर कांग्रेस के इकोसिस्टम ने किया।
प्रधानमंत्री जी अपने पीएमओ में देश के सारे त्योहार मनाएं, गणेशा जी की पूर्ति का आयोजन करें, वहां पे वो दिवाली मनाएं, गुरु पर्व मनाएं, पूरे देश के लिए अच्छी बात है। लेकिन दो पावर हमारी जो डेमोक्रेसी के हैं, आप सीधे चीफ जस्टिस साहब के घर पे चले जा रहे हैं, ये चीजें अशोभनीय हैं।
So while the Congress and other opposition parties have objected to Prime Minister visiting CJI's house for Ganesh Puja, there are instances in the past when the opposition leaders have joined members of the judiciary in social, private as well as religious functions. Let's take a look at those. Now, in September 2009, ex-CJI KG Balakrishnan attended ex-PM Manmohan Singh's iftar party. Was judiciary compromised even then? In March 2012, Mamata Banerjee attended Calcutta High Court Chief Justice J.N. Patel's daughter's wedding. And you know, weddings are a private affair. They're family functions. So Mamata Banerjee attends that. Was judiciary compromised back then as well? Let's talk about March 2020. Netas attend Delhi High Court Justice Sistaine's daughter's wedding. May 2021, ex-Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray meets Bombay High Court Judge Deepankar Datta. Has the opposition forgotten about these instances? Let's take a look at other timelines. August 2021, then CM KCR attended High Court Judge Abhishek Reddy's daughter's wedding. Then April 2023, Lokayukta judges attend Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan's iftar party. Has the opposition forgotten about this, or is this fine? And when Prime Minister Narendra Modi goes to the CJI's house for Ganesh Puja, that's when judiciary is compromised.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Let's open this up. Let's go across to our guests. We have RP Singh, national spokesperson of the BJP. We have Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author, Kailash Adhikari, MD, Governance Now. We have Lokesh Jindal on the panel. He's a political analyst. Faizan Kidwai, spokesperson, Samajwadi Party. And Advocate Chandrasekhar Jha, leader of Shiv Sena UBT. Good evening to all of you. I want to begin with Dr. Anand Ranganathan. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, what is it really about? Is it about Ganpati Puja? Is it about Maharashtra polls? Is it about judiciary being compromised? Because in the opposition also, if you look at the reactions coming in, they're not on the same page. Some feel it's because of Maharashtra polls in Maharashtrian attire, and perhaps that's the only way left for the Prime Minister to woo Marathi voters.
Good evening, Swati, and good evening to my fellow panelists. I think there are two issues out here. One is regarding secularism, and the other is regarding conflict of interest. But before I delve into each one of those briefly, I just want to ask, is there a law that bars the Prime Minister from visiting the home or house or any personal function, private function of the Chief Justice of India? Should the Prime Minister meet the Chief Justice of India privately? Because if there is a law, then yes, there is violation. But if there isn't a law, and there should not be a law, then I don't see anything wrong in it. Let me now delve into both the issues that I described one by one. Swati, this is a strange country. You can give Hajj subsidy for decades, use taxpayers' money to host grand iftar parties, plunder state coffers to pay monthly salaries to thousands of Maulvis, ask government-run UGC to completely fund minority institutions that keep 50% seats reserved for Christians, step in to overturn a Supreme Court judgment just to appease the Muslims, leech thousands of crores preferentially from Hindu temples, sell off and control thousands of acres of temple land, spend hundreds of crores of taxpayers' money for the Kartarpur corridor. But the moment you have the Chief Justice of India performing a simple Ganesh Aarti at home and having the Prime Minister as a guest, secularism khatre mein aa gaya. Recall that in the past, Chief Justices have attended iftar parties organized by the President and the Prime Minister. The Chief Justice has sung Christmas carols with cabinet ministers in attendance.
Yes.
But today, it seems the Chief Justice and the Prime Minister, both Hindus, cannot even perform a Hindu function at home. Number two, on conflict of interest. As far as that is concerned, when Naveen Chawla, despite the Shah Commission charging him with committing atrocities during the emergency and deeming him unfit for office, was appointed as the Chief Election Commissioner, ignoring the cries of the CEE that Chawla was spying for the Congress and passing on sensitive information to it, was not conflict of interest, Swati. Are we forgetting Chief Justice Thipse, who joined the Congress, or Justice Islam, who yo-yoed between the Supreme Court and Rajya Sabha courtesy the Congress? And the Chief Justice can meet and share gossip with Kapil Sibal, no issues. But he must not meet the Prime Minister. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. Bias and agenda, conflict of interest for a person come through. Even if you don't visit that person's home, tell me finally 10 seconds. Should journalists not visit 10 Janpath or 7 Racecourse Road for dinner or celebration now? A famous journalist castigating the judge and the Prime Minister accepted a Padma Award for the Congress government. So much for hypocrisy.
Okay, let me bring in Lokesh Jindal. Lokesh Jindal, KC Venugopal says that religion should not be used for political gains. So like Mr. Ranganathan pointed out, when the iftar parties were being organized by the former Prime Ministers of the Congress party, was that religion being misused and by being attended by the then CJI? Was that a compromise of the judiciary?
Yes, good evening. In fact, my friend Anand, he asked a question, if there is a law or any form of a precedence whereby such form of restriction is imposed. So let me remind him, it was 7th May 1997. In a full court, the Supreme Court adopted restatement of values of judicial life. The first clause of this is, justice must not merely be done, but it must also be seen to be done. The behavior and conduct of members of the higher judiciary must reaffirm the people's faith in the impartiality of the judiciary. Accordingly, any act of a judge of the Supreme Court or a High Court, whether in official or personal capacity, which erodes the credibility of this perception, has to be avoided. Now, Anand, when you are talking about the Supreme Court judge, the sitting Chief Justice of India, when he had the head of the government invited to his home in his personal capacity, it harms this perception. When you are talking about 2009,
do chief ministers attending wedding functions of state high courts, CJ's daughter's wedding or relatives' wedding, does that hurt that perception or not? Or is that fine? Because opposition leaders are meeting, and that's absolutely fine. Going to a wedding is not private.
No. I would condemn, even in 2009, I would still say KG Balakrishnan should have denied the invitation. See, we need to have judiciary independent from executive. Wait a minute.
So the Prime Minister inviting the Chief Justice of India back then was fine, but it was the onus was on the Chief Justice of India to have denied that invitation.
The onus, the Constitution gives security of tenure. The Constitution gives various forms of the salaries charged upon consolidated fund. They cannot be removed via ordinary procedure.
So according to you, during this Ganpati Puja, the fact that the Prime Minister is invited by the Chief Justice of India puts a question mark on the integrity of the Chief Justice of India. Is that what you're saying?
Puts a question mark on the Chief Justice of India. He shouldn't have.
In that case, perhaps you're not aware. In that case, perhaps you're not aware, or very selectively you've forgotten about all the judgments that he was part of. And many a times was the lone dissenter. His integrity was intact. His integrity was intact back then. But just by inviting the Prime Minister for Ganesh Puja, his integrity can be questioned. You've forgotten about the decision taken by the Supreme Court on electoral bonds. The Chief Justice of India was part of that bench. You've forgotten about the decision when it went in favor of the Delhi government in the LG versus Delhi fight. The integrity was intact. But in full public glare, it's not like secretly the Prime Minister has visited the Chief Justice of India's residence.
Maintain an independence, even with respect to Article 145 and 146. It has been categorically stated that the Supreme Court must ensure that there isn't any form of a perception created which questions the impartiality of the judiciary.
It is only created in the minds of
if at all the Chief Justice of India...
Were they discussing business? Were they discussing business?
The Chief Justice of India is supposed to decide over, adjudicate over a dispute whereby one of the party is the government. Tell me, with these forms of instances, don't you think that the impartiality...
You are not responding to the very specific and pertinent question that I have raised. Talk about the judgments. Talk about the judgments that he was part of. Supreme Court orders complete disclosure on electoral bonds from SBI. The entire opposition celebrated. Supreme Court ruled unanimously in favor of the Delhi government on the issue of who controls bureaucracy in the national capital. The entire opposition celebrated. In the Sabrimala case as well. Then in the case where the Kerala governor's role was challenged when it comes to certain bills, the court questioned what was the Kerala governor doing for 2 years on those bills. The opposition again celebrated. In fact, when you're talking about dissent, this is the same person, the CJI, D.Y. Chandrachud, who said dissent is a safety valve of democracy. His integrity was intact. His integrity was intact. Let me bring in Kailash Adhikari. Kailash Adhikari, what is the perception that you get when you see the Prime Minister at the residence of the CJI for Ganesh Puja? What is the perception that you get? Do you start automatically thinking about how the Prime Minister is trying to woo all the votes in Maharashtra because he's dressed in one Maharashtrian attire according to the opposition? Or do you at that moment, think, look what is happening, judiciary being compromised during this Ganesh Puja?
Swati, the opposition is being pretty childish, I must say, in bringing up such kind of topics which have no place in our society. Firstly, we all know that Ganesh Chaturthi is a festival which has been celebrated nationally in our nation since years. And if we talk about the history of Ganesh Chaturthi, it was started in the British era by Lokmanya Gangadhar Tilak in order to bring the community together. Here, what we see is that a Chief Justice of India, and Swati, be it executive, be it people running the executive, or be it people running the judiciary, they are humans after all. Why do we tend to forget, that there is behind the wheel, there is a human. If the Chief Justice of India is having a Ganesh Puja at his house, and if he is calling the Prime Minister of the country, what is wrong in that? The Prime Minister is seen in a simple attire, which the attire goes with that particular festival, and he's seen performing the Aarti. I have, in my house, we celebrate Ganesh Chaturthi for more than 34 years, and various people come and do the Aarti. I don't see any merit in how the judiciary is compromised, or how the executive is influencing the judiciary under this garb. We have seen instances where the Chief Justice has attended iftar party. No one raised at that particular point of time.
Yes.
And today, even though the Chief Justice, I'll just take 10 seconds, and even today, Swati, even though the Chief Justice of India was not a part of that bench, today the opposition is really celebrating the verdict given by the Supreme Court in a bulldozer case.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Similarly, Arvind Kejriwal's bail matter. The CJI was not part of that bench, but Sharad Pawar said, see, this is democracy. So let me bring in Advocate Chandrasekhar Jari, or a leader of UBT, or also an advocate. Was judiciary compromised when in 2021, ex-Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray met Bombay High Court Judge Deepankar Datta?
There are certain kind of privy which lies between the executive, judiciary and the legislature, and each having their capacity of being the chief of the respective pillar. They cannot compromise, or they cannot meet personally anywhere, but in public the affairs can be done, the programs can be attended, but in private it cannot be done. So it gives an impression that the institution is getting compromised, and very basic structure of the judiciary, the giving the people the result by the judiciary, judgments by the judiciary, it gets compromised. So that feeling comes out, and it is a very basic thing that if Mr. Narendra Modi is going to the CJI's house, and that too at the time of Ganesh Puja,
but our integrity is not an issue. Our integrity is questioned and judiciary compromised when netas attend wedding function, which is a very private affair, but they attend wedding function of the relatives of sitting judges. Is it not compromised then?
See, what happens if you see today, many judges who retire and are going to become an MP or becoming an MP. Last, if you see, Mr. ex-Chief Justice of India, Ranjan Gogoi, was made the MP of BJP. And now, if you see, Justice Ganguly was made the MP of BJP. So, if you consider everything, the inputs of the RSS and the BJP has come into judiciary. So they want to anyhow influence the judiciary to keep themselves in the...
So one second. So for that, these videos and images would be released according to you to show that the Prime Minister has gone to the Chief Justice of India's residence. Won't they be doing it secretly in a very private manner so that nobody gets to know in the first place that he went to his house? But RP Singh, the perception that is created is that institutions are being compromised. And Advocate Jha also spoke about Ranjan Gogoi. We also know the former Calcutta High Court judge who contested on BJP ticket. So this creates suspicion. Please respond.
Well, Swati, the problem is not the Prime Minister going to Chandrachudji's house for a function. Problem is why Ganesh Chaturthi. The problem is that, I mean, if they can hold iftar, people can come to iftar. We had the Muslim president who have held, even the vice president who have held the iftar parties at their residence, and Chief Justice has been part of those parties. But issue is not that. Issue is that complete campaign against Sanatan. And then that is ongoingly happening since the opposition has lost election. But let me quote you one example. One of the panelists referred it to Mr. Barul Hussain, 1962-72, he was a Rajya Sabha member of the Congress, from the Congress party. 72, he was appointed as the Chief Justice of Guwahati High Court. 1980 he was appointed as a Supreme Court judge. 1983 he resigned and again became the Congress member Rajya Sabha. So that is okay for them because that is Congress party. But there is another judge by name of K.S. Hegde Saab. He was member parliament Rajya Sabha in 1952 and then he became the Mysore High Court judge in 1957.
Okay.
So this is how the history has been of the Congress party. But it suits them. It is good when they do. It's good if Prime Minister visits the.
You're saying it's convenient.
Function.
All right. Before I take a quick response from Lokesh Jindal, let me go across to Faizan Kidwai. Faizan Kidwai, RP Singh says it's more about Ganesh Puja. It's not about the Prime Minister going to the CJI's residence or Maharashtra polls even. It's about Ganesh Puja.
No, certainly not. It is not about Ganesh Puja. See, this is a personal event. This was, the Prime Minister was meeting the CJI at his residence in a private affair. This was not something public. So this raises serious concerns. In the past also, the Prime Minister has met the CJI. He made a surprise visit when Mr. Gogoi was the CJI. At that time, even the Rafale hearing was happening. But nobody raised questions. Reason being, he met the CJI at that time at a public place, that is inside the premises of the Supreme Court. There were other judges and other lawyers also present. So nobody raised questions. This time it is very different. The CJI, the Prime Minister goes to the CJI during a private event. The Prime Minister takes his PR team, gets his photographs clicked, gets a video made and then posts it on social media. You should remember, see, 70% of cases in the Supreme Court are those where the central government is directly connected.
The Prime Minister and his advisors want to have that image that the Prime Minister is compromising the institution, and they have released it, and they have released those images and videos that this message goes out that he's trying to compromise institutions.
Madam, would you just let me complete, please?
Go ahead.
See, in a situation where 70% of the cases at the moment in Supreme Court are where the central government is directly involved and central government is headed by the Prime Minister himself. They'll be hearing on the Shinde Sena case about the defection of the MLAs in Maharashtra. There are a lot of such cases pending. So if the Prime Minister meets the CJI in a personal event at a private function, what is the message you are giving to the general public?
That's what I'm saying.
The Supreme Court, madam.
So till he was the lone dissenter on many cases, many judgments, his integrity was intact. Even asking the SBI to make complete disclosure on electoral bonds, Mr. Kidwai, that was fine. The opposition celebrated that, but now it is compromised.
Ma'am, just a second. When the Supreme Court itself makes an observation to the Election Commission while listening a case against it, that it is important to emphasize the importance of appearing impartial. The Supreme Court tells the Election Commission that you have to appear impartial. So this thing counts for the Supreme Court also, right? Okay. So the Prime Minister's visit raises serious questions and the opposition is raising legitimate criticism. And the Prime Minister is making it about
suspicious. That has happened in this case. It is appearing suspicious. Why did the Prime Minister go to the CJI's residence? It's a private matter, a private function.
Swati, this is so childish. It's embarrassing to even discussing this, as you rightly put it. If at all he wanted to do something or to manipulate the Chief Justice, he would not have done it in the public eye. It's common logic. And number two, is there a rule? And I ask this, number one, the first up, is there a rule or a law that bars the Chief Justice from meeting the Prime Minister, leave alone the home? If he wants to discuss something, conflict of interest situation, why can't he discuss it at a public place? The question is, should he meet or should he not? And Faizan bhai se main ek simple sawal puchna tha, Swati, with your permission, 10 seconds. Faizan bhai, main aapki bahut izzat karta hoon. Is it wrong for the Prime Minister or this government to have overturned a Supreme Court judgment? Yes or no? Is it wrong?
Sorry, I didn't get you. What judgment are you talking about? Could you just please specify?
I'm saying when you're saying that the Modi government has compromised the institutions, I'm saying, is it wrong for the Modi government to have overturned a bona fide Supreme Court judgment? Yes or no?
Yes, of course. If you're talking about the judgment that the CJI will be part of the committee that will appoint.
No, Swati, Faizan bhai, no. Yes,
quickly, you don't have to wrap up.
You're talking about that, right? So of course the Modi government was wrong there. And sir, I would.
Faizan bhai, please. Sure.
Swati,
please. Can I please complete?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, as Faizan Bhai has rightly said, it is wrong for the Prime Minister to have overturned a Supreme Court judgment because that reflects compromising the institution. Can I please ask him, when the only instance in the last 11-10 years when the Prime Minister has overturned Supreme Court judgment, why is it that the Samajwadi Party and the Congress Party supported him in overturning that judgment on the SC/ST Act? तब compromise नहीं दिख रहा था इनको, तब conflict of interest नहीं दिख रहा था, अब दिख रहा है गणेश चतुर्थी पे.
No, BJP says this is about puja. The opposition is really upset because the Prime Minister performed puja at the CJI's residence. The Congress party says judiciary is being compromised and it should not appear so. That is what has happened. That's the message that has gone out. Well, is that problem really with puja or perception? Viewers, you watched the debate. You know what each party has to say. You decide for yourself. I'm thanking the guests except for R.P. Singh, Dr. Angra Ranganathan and Lokesh Jindal.